Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Today we are going to be working on a photo dump. And as per usual, this is a very delayed video. So even though it's like January, this is for November. I don't know, sometimes for me it's really hard to record, edit, and then post everything, I guess like promptly or on time. But at least I'm getting them out, and you guys can have the inspiration for when November comes around again, or you can just use it for your current time. And who knows, maybe by the time you're seeing this, it's November again. Anyways, I plan on doing this video slightly differently, and have more real-time scene in it. Now, it's not quite 100% real-time. I do have quite a few skip-aheads and a couple of sections where I am speeding forwards because it's like 20 minutes of me figuring out where to put tiny stickers. But I tried to do better about like showing you my whole process. And with that, let's get into it. So you can see me arranging my scrap paper bits. I always start off with a scrap paper bit because I think it puts you in a fun, good position for kind of knowing what the vibe is for your spread or just having a starting place. I know there's people who get like first page anxiety in like their sketchbooks or notebooks or journals and wanting it to look super pretty. Well, this is kind of like blank page anxiety breaking, I guess, sort of in that same sense where like you get into it quickly and don't think too much about it. Just grab something, do something that you like for the base. In my opinion, once you get that base down, the creativity starts flowing. And you don't necessarily have to do it with scrap paper. You could grab some markers or paints and paint in some colorful blocks or some doodles. Or you can grab stickers and put those down first. It really can be anything you like. It's just that it needs to be something that you enjoy and like are really feeling for that day. Now that the scrapbook paper is pretty much glued down, I just tear off those little corners and extend it to the other page. I think it continues the, I guess, pattern and makes it a little more fluid in my opinion. Once those are glued down, I'm going to go back and glue everything down really well. This is a part that I normally cut out because personally I think it's kind of boring watching somebody re-glue something for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on how thorough I'm being. But this is a very important part of my process because later on, a few days later, hopefully a few months or years later, things aren't falling out of my notebook and then I have a big problem then. So making sure that I glue things down really well and push it down really well is a big step in my process that I don't typically show. As I was working, I could not stand the lighting here, so I'm changing it. I turned on my lamp and made it a little bit warmer tones. We'll see how well the camera picks that up, and if it continues to be warm tone on the screen. This wrapping paper is something that I keep in my scraps, and I think it's really beautiful. It's kind of shiny metallic, as you can see. And originally, I was thinking about like putting down a little swath of it as a paper in itself. But as I move it around and figure out what I want to do with it, it's not what the page wants. It's not what the page wants, which means it's not what I'm going to do. But I do end up using this paper later on, and I'll talk about that when that happens. But to get that paper ready for later on, I do end up clipping a little section out of it, I believe. Or not. Maybe I don't. Never mind. I am going to go ahead and grab my photos. These are all the photos of like major events or things that I want to remember that happened in November. So I've got things like working on my mail club, going to a coffee shop, a song that I found that I really liked, just little notes and things that I want to keep track of and remember later on as a visual. I am just spreading them out on my page so I can see every single picture and see what might look best with arrangement. I do tend to change and move things a lot as I do this process. I think you'll see me pull in some new elements from like pen pal letters that I've got that I want to use. But this is not the final thing. As you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and speed it up so that you guys can see like how much moving I do without having to wait for the whole time. This is pretty close to what I decided to do. I know about like half of this spread I glue down, and I'm only gluing down a center dot because it is very likely, and in fact I can tell you right now, I definitely do move these around more. And so with just gluing the center very gently, like not a whole bunch of glue, just a little bit, it ensures it will stay in a place I've selected for it at the time being, but it also allows me the flexibility of peeling it up later and moving it somewhere else. This isn't really a technique that I normally do, but because I had so many photos and I just really was not sure about how to get them in there and they were moving around so much, this is how I decided to work. And after moving things around again, I think I have decided on a pretty final display of how I want these photos to look. As I am working on a spread, I wanted a lot of layering happening in this spread, not necessarily of the photos, but like of stickers and additional things that I had in my stock that I don't normally layer a whole bunch with other items like stickers and doodles and things that I find, but I wanted to do that a lot this spread, so that was another reason to only do the little dot in the middle, is because I was able to pick up the edges and tuck something underneath or pull it back up and whatnot and move things around, and it really just gave me a lot of flexibility in what I wanted to do for this spread. I don't think that my spreads are normally this jam-packed with photos, and if I have this many photos, it's not uncommon for me to use more than one spread page, like 4 pages instead of just the 2, but I didn't really want to do that because I didn't have so many photos that it'd look full, full with 4 pages, but I did have quite a few photos for 2 pages. This little doodle that I'm sticking in right now, I didn't draw this. I actually work at a stationery store, and sometimes you find some amazing drawings on the testing pads for the pins. And so every now and then I will go through and look for some really cool doodles, and this was one of them. And it had like 2 little friends with it that I cut out and put in my planner. But I thought I'd stick that in my photo dump this month, just because I could, because I can. Anyways, this one was kind of tricky to glue down and around, and the photos down and around it, just because it had so many like elements that I wanted the tail in the background, but I wanted the head in the foreground, and I wanted to make sure the pictures weren't being covered up too much by the drawing, and things like that. But I figured it out, and I think it looks really cute and good in there. And as you can see, if I had glued that picture above it all the way down, I wouldn't have been able to peel it back up to put in front of the tail. So the little dot in the middle method worked really well for me here. Oh, here's another tip that you see me doing right now, is if you are having an image, if you have an image or something that's really close to the edge, or the spine of your notebook, and you want it to be flat or straight across like I did, go ahead, instead of grabbing scissors and like doing some weird angle cutting and stuff like that, grab a flat ruler. I usually use one that's like 2D instead of like one that has a little dimension on it, just because I think that gives a sharper cut. Go ahead and line it up to where you want it to be aligned to. So I wanted it to be aligned to the perforations in the paper. And just hold it down firmly and tear the paper across it. And it should give you a fairly clean cut, and it'll be straight, and it's not messing with the scissors trying to get that into the spine of your book. I hope that made sense. It might not have. But yes, now that everything is in its final spots, no more changing it around, I am gluing all the little teeny tiny bits down. That includes the edges of the photos, the legs on this little guy, and just making sure everything is nice and secure. Like I was talking about, gluing it down really well, excessively almost, so that later in the future when I'm looking back at this, it's not falling apart. My typical go-to glue is just these, they're just the little Elmer's stick glue, But I have been interested in possibly getting another kind of glue just because sometimes when I'm working in small spaces, the stick glue is like way too big for it and sometimes it just gets super messy somehow. Maybe that's just me being a messy person with stick glue. But I was wondering if you guys had any like small space glue recommendations. I've heard of like those glue pens where you like write with them and what comes out instead of ink is glue. I've heard of like glue tape. I'm not a fan of glue tape just because they're kind of hard to work with. I've seen like square glue and stuff like that, but I haven't really actually invested any money into other glues. So I was just wondering if you guys had any recommendations or any experiences or tips and tricks that might be helpful for my situation. Alrighty, we're slapping another sticker in, and then I believe I don't actually glue everything down quite yet, because if you remember, 10 minutes ago at the beginning of the video, at the beginning of the video, I had that really pretty metallic leaf paper. And I believe I'm about to pull that out and cut out the leaves. What I am doing is, so yeah, I am cutting out the leaves and I'm going to put those in various spots like they were stickers in my notebook. And instead of like sticking them down like stickers, I'll just be gluing them. Pretty straightforward. And I think it like helps tie in all that like earthy cream color, and I think they're really cool looking too, and it's perfect because November is fall and fall means leaves and these are leaves. I don't know. I'm just trying to make connections, but I do think that these turned out really well in my notebook. I think my placement of them was very cohesive too. Something I was thinking about when I was placing these leaves, if they were all facing in the same direction, it'd feel a lot more stiff than if you like had them kind of turning in a circle or kind of like fall like as if they were falling through your page or something like that. Because originally I think I did place them down in a way that made them look like they were all facing the same direction. Like it might have been a stamp that was duplicated multiple times. But just by that slight rotation and turning of the leaf, it does bring a lot more, I guess, like movement or dynamics into your spread. Some of these leaves had a very obvious spot they would go, like this one that I'm gluing right now. It is going to end up in that corner right there, and it was just obvious because it was cut off. But some of them, I wasn't really sure where to put them. My spread was already so full, but I really wanted to jam these in here because I love busy spreads. If you don't know that about me and my work that I do, if it's busy, it's probably me. I know some people really like simplistic and not crazy spreads, but I think that's they're nice. They can be really nice actually, and not saying that that's the wrong way to do it. But for me, I think it just feeds my soul just a bit more when they are very hectic and happening like this. But like what I was saying is some of these leaves I wasn't quite sure where to put. And I end up messing around with the leaves for like a really long time. Just because like, oh my gosh, where am I gonna put these? They have to go in between the photos and I don't have a clear spot to just put them on. And this one photo won't get glued very well and stuff like that. I do find a home for all 4 or 5. I do find a home for all the leaves though, which I am very happy about. It adds to my crazy chaos in my journaling. I know that cutting out wrapping paper isn't too crazy of an idea, but I'm just curious, what are some wild things that you've put into your journals and notebooks? Especially if you're a junk journaler. I haven't junk journaled for a while, but like, what are some crazy things that you've put into your own notebook? In general, I think I'm pretty tame with what I put into my notebook, but I have put a mosquito into my boyfriend's notebook for him. It was like from 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still in there, and it's still in good condition. I like wrapped it and taped so it was flat and preserved, and it's still hanging out in his current notebook. The story behind it's not much of a story behind it, but we were on a road trip to Omaha, and it was during the summertime, and I'm that one weird person who makes my driver boyfriend, my driver boyfriend, pull off to the side of the road, and so I could pick some like little wildflowers and press them for my notebook. And like I said, it was in the summertime, and so there were mosquitoes out, crazy, so many mosquitoes out, and I don't remember if he smacked it or I smacked it. One of us smacked it, and I got it, and I happened to have tape on me for some reason, so it got taped and stuck in his notebook, and that's the very, very short story about it. One more little bonus about that is that we had just gotten that notebook for him on that trip, like as a souvenir thing, from an art museum, and it was the very first thing that went into it, so it holds an honorary place in his notebook and in our hearts. Alright, moving past that story, it is time to do like the fun decorating part. I am putting some beautiful dark green washi tape onto this spread. I think it really matches what I'm trying to go for and kind of like maybe make it a little more foresty. And I will just put that in various spots around and pretty much treat it like a sticker instead of like how you might treat washi tape. I got this washi tape at a creative reuse store. If you're not sure what those are essentially like art supply thrift stores. Like people donate all their used art supplies or crafting materials or things that could be made in an artistic way all to this warehouse, and usually it's ran by volunteers. And things there may have been used, but they're usually at a very good discounted price. And like this roll that I got was probably used, but there's still quite a bit of it on there, and it was $1. And it was just too beautiful to pass up. I'm very lucky to have one in a city over next to my city. They're not, I don't think they're like very super duper common yet. They're only like in major cities, so that's really nice that I have one close enough to me that I can make a short day trip of it and go check that place out. And actually, a number of the things that aren't photos in this spread are from that creative reuse store. Both the scrapbook paper and the wrapping paper is also from there, and I believe some of my stickers that I will be pulling out will also be from that place. So it's a really good place to find like scrapbooking stuff or journaling stuff, or I know they have a lot of like sewing and knitting stuff, at least at mine, and they have painting, they have all sorts office supplies, all sorts of stuff. It'd be if you have the opportunity or are near one, I highly recommend going there. But you do have to commit to staying there a long time to dig through everything they have, and being alright with getting a little dusty and dirty, because it's a little dusty and dirty in there. But it's kind of fun. It's like a scavenger hunt for your own treasures. Alright, but now that that is on there, I'm going to do my tiny deco stickers. And I'm doing it super fast because I don't think you wanted to watch 20 minutes of me putting stickers on that made not much of a visual difference. If you were holding the book in your hands, you'd be able to see it, but in video it's not the same. This is my fountain pen that I use. This is a Kakuno by Pilot. It's my first fountain pen, and I really like it. I think it's super cute with its little smiley face on the nib, if you can see that. This pen is often recommended for beginners, and that's exactly what I am with fountain pens, is a beginner. And it's just been super great, and I've been loving it. I got it in the extra fine because I bought it from my Hobonichi, and the grid on there is really tiny, so you have to write tiny. But I've really been enjoying the size, and it came with its own ink, so I didn't have to buy extra ink this time. And what I'm going to do now is just caption all these different photos, just so like I know what was going on. Like this photo is going to be a living room sleepover. We pulled out our mattress from the bedroom and brought it into the living room. And then I just, finished captioning. I don't know, however you say that word. I finished doing that. Oh, and in addition to the caption, I'll also find the date that that photo is from. So, because sometimes I will have like a journal entry about the day if it's a special day or something special happened. That way later in the future I can look at these photos and be like, oh, I need to look for November 1st to see what this photo is about. or see more about that photo's story and whatnot. When you do your own photo dump, you don't necessarily have to add the captions to them, because generally you're going to remember what happened or like why you took that photo. But I think like one of my fears is in the future when I'm old and senile is that like I won't remember things. I think that's something that's been a constant fear of mine when it comes to like wanting to like remember something important happening and stuff like that. And so like giving a caption to it helps, like it gives me security that I will know what was happening with this photo years down the line. And I also think it makes the page look more busy. And as you know, I love a busy page. So having the writing in addition to the photos is, in my personal opinion, a nice little touch. Sometimes, especially when the page is this crowded, you have to get creative with how you're writing and where you're writing your captions. You can see me write them crooked, you can see me write them sideways. I'm sure, not necessarily in a spread, but I've done it before. I'll write them like spirally around something, or swirly and fun-like, not based on the line. And really, it's just like kind of finding the leftover space that you need to fill up. I am getting close to the end of this video, and I always feel like I never quite give myself enough time to say my goodbyes for my videos, so I'm going to start doing that now, even though we still have a fair amount of time left. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and the fact that it was a more talky video. I hope that like seeing my process hopefully helps and inspires your process in creating a memory keeping spread. And in my end credits, I will link I have more memory keeping spreads like this if you want to watch those. So those will be in my end credits. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this and that it was inspirational to you guys. You can find me here on YouTube, of course, but you can also find different kind of content from me on my TikTok and sometimes my Instagram. I know that I am advertising a mail club right now too. So if you are someone who likes to pen pal or send letters, my mail club is all about that. I create unique handmade envelopes for people to send out to friends and family to reconnect on paper. You can find that at Patreon or Shopify right now. And so if you're joining on Patreon, it'll be Pigeon Pages. And if you're joining on Shopify, it'll be pigeonpages.myshopify.com. And that's been a super fun side hobby, side hustle, whatever you want to call it, for me that I've been doing since October, I believe. And if you join January of 2026, you will receive 3 mini envelopes that are heart-shaped. And you can see more details about that on my websites. And I think that's all I've got to tell you guys. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please like and subscribe and comment what your craziest thing is that you've put in your junk journal or glue recommendations. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys!